Battlers! You know what it is, Jay Devin back at it with another video. If you're new to this channel, thank you for watching. Welcome. Subscribe if you feel my vibe, and power up punch the notification bell for more PvP content. In today's video, we did a lot of best of threes last night, and that's what we're going to be covering for this Jungle Cup. We also did a lot of Rainbow, but we're not going to cover that right now. We're getting into this Jungle. We're testing out our team of 6. All these best of threes that we did were tournament style. Our first opponent is Potato Chip. He's a very skilled battler. He always gives me trouble. I have a hard time with his team composition and the choices that he makes. He has a very different style than I do. So obviously I'm going to switch out to the Pidgeot because that's going to give me the advantage, but he has the Magneton sitting over here. Just going to get off the charge move, do everything I can against the Magneton. That was probably a mistake right there to have shielded that discharge. I should have let it get rid of my Pidgeot because in this matchup, we both have shielding. That's a very hard counter. I'm not going to win that, right? That made no sense. But that's why we practice. This is how we learn. So now I bring in this Heracross to get rid of the Magneton. I think what I remember correctly, yes, he comes back out with this Venomoth. He's able to get off a charge move right away. But we're going to switch out to the Ninjask. We do kind of have, he's kind of like a hybrid. The reason I like him is because he has Aerial Ace. So if my Pidgeot gets hard countered like it did, then I can still come back in with this flying type threat and be a threat to something like this, right? Up against a Venomoth or a Dustox is what I was planning on. Granted, having something like a Alolan Golem in this team of 3 would have done me much better. GG's, he took round 1. We're going to be moving on to game 2, I guess. Game 1. This is all just one round, so now we're going on to game 2. I have been experimenting with my leads for the most part. One specific team composition I really do enjoy is having Vigoroth and Heracross in the team of 3. So kind of double fighting, right? But then having an anti-flying, but also possibly an anti-bug threat, namely Magneton or Alolan Golem. I've had a lot of success with that. You'll see through the rest of these battles. It did me a lot of favors. But yeah, that's why we're doing this here. So brings out this Magneton. Again, I'm going to switch into this Heracross. I want to get rid of it. I don't know if I necessarily needed to shield that discharge in retrospect. No, probably was a good decision to shield it. I should have shielded that Body Slam from that Vigoroth too, because that just does so much damage. And I got to retain my health against that Vigoroth. Because again, right now, I don't have another Vigoroth sitting in the back, right? Team composition, keep testing it, keep learning, keep practicing. This is why we practice. Now he has the Breloom, which threw me off guard. I have no shields. He's a great counter to Alolan Golem here. So GG's Potato Chip taking the match with a Breloom. Very well played. I enjoyed it. Next opponent is going to be Matt EF Baby. Again, we showed each other our teams of 6s, and here we go. Now Pidgeot is going to win against Fortress. The reason I wanted to use Pidgeot more so than Noctowl so far is just, I guess probably because it's Legacy. One thing to note, okay, Legacy Pidgeot as well as Noctowl, they both have Wing Attack as the preferred flying fast move, right? It takes the same amount of wing attacks for a Pidgeot to get to that Aerial Ace as it does for a Noctowl to get to a Sky Attack. So hands down, Noctowl is going to be superior because it takes the same amount of energy, the same number of fast moves, and Sky Attack period is just superior to Aerial Ace in every way. It just does more damage for the same amount of energy. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But the main reason I did like Pidgeot is it can actually win against Noctowl in a 1 shield and 1 shield situation, or also a 2 shield and 2 shield situation. Without shields, Noctowl is going to win. So it's probably a little risky, but that's why, again, I'm trying to follow my gut. That's why I ended up just choosing the Pidgeot, just so I could see, hey, if I come into that mirror match, how am I going to be able to perform? So GG's, we took game 1. Maddie's team composition was a little fresh too. None of us really know the meta at this point. We got a very, very good idea, I think, right now. At least I do with my team of 6. Vigoroth is a must, to be completely honest with you. You need to have Vigoroth on your team of 6. It's kind of rough to admit that, but I mean, that's the truth. If you don't have a Vigoroth, at least do everything you can to have a Heracross. And I know it's a regional, but try and find someone. Try and at least find someone who can trade. Now here is Ninjask's time to shine, okay? I kind of saw the Power Gem coming. I knew about Power Gem in advance, so we are going to use a shield. But I can get to these aerial aces so quick. Look at this. I should not have shielded that. He got to that too quick. I kind of knew it was an X-Scissor. As soon as I hit the shield, I was like, great, I just wasted it. But, you know, we're able to take out the Vespiquen anyway. So, GG's to that. Ninjask did its job. That's pretty much all I use it for, is situations like that, where if they do have those kind of odd picks, or other bug and flying picks, or just bug picks, Ninjask is going to be a very good counter to those. So, Ninjask, if you did not know, can also win against Fortress. It can also win against Vigoroth. So that's one thing to keep in mind too. He's so glassy. He is really glassy. He needs shields. But he can do pretty well if you use him right. But GG's Matty F, baby. We took that match. We're going to be moving on to the next one up against Gaby Climb here. Now, this one I think did go all the way to 3 battles. We ended up doing 3 in the best of 3, which is nice because the first one I just got swept. Then we went 2 for 2 on Matty F, baby. So it was a little refreshing. Their team composition was a little refreshing too for the most part. So Breloom, it's the perfect open for me. I'm kind of shocked he didn't switch out. Maybe he's like, I don't want to get switch locked into something else, so I'm just going to let it die. That is a good strategy to use if worse comes to worse. If you need to just let your lead die, then let it die. But here, we're able to get 2 aerial aces off fairly quickly. There was a little bit of lag, but you can see he's still going to get to those sky attacks so quick. I'm not going to shield it. Makes no sense to shield it. I'm not going to win the matchup at this point because we have Alolan Golem sitting here. Now we can force this switch, and I can hard counter his Vigoroth with my Heracross, and I still have my shields that I saved for this matchup, right? Keep that in mind. When they have Vigoroth and you can use a Heracross, save a shield. Save at least 1 shield. If you can save 2, then save 2. But the Noctowl comes out again, has the Sky Attack, but again, I have the Alolan Golem sitting here. We're just going to get rid of it. There's GG's to game 1 against Gaby Climb, so now we're going to be going on to game 2. In terms of the flying counters, it's a rough call. It is a really rough call this early on. Part of me prefers Magneton in a lot of situations, but part of me also prefers Golem. Golem is going to be such a better counter and a more effective counter against flying because he can also directly counter bug types. Golem might be superior, you know, in your team composition. Magneton, I very much like because of his steel and electric typing is double resistant to flying. So that's, you know, one benefit as well. And that was my thought when I threw this team of 6 together. That was my initial thought was, why not include both, you know, for just in case. So that's why we ended up doing this. Now, this matchup's going pretty well. We have 2 shields. I don't know, that was a waste. I did not need to use that shield on that Sky Attack. I don't know. Don't do those animal plays, guys. That was a waste of a shield. But now he has this Vigoroth. You can see the Brick Break. As soon as he hit Brick Break, I was like, oh great, it's done. It didn't. I feel like the Brick Break, even coming from Vigoroth, didn't do that much damage. I was kind of shocked. I expected it to do so much more damage than it did. I think that's why Bulldoze is preferred. If you're going to have a second move, you know, on top of Body Slam, go for Bulldoze. We do open up with the Magneton. He opens up with the Fortress. This is kind of favorable for us depending on shields. We're just going to get off the discharge right away as quick as we can to do that much damage. I think I shield the first one. Yes, I am going to shield because if he potentially has a flyer or something else out there weak to me, then I can reserve this Magneton, which we do. We switch out right away to the Heracross. And we're going to try and just hard counter his Vigoroth and get it out of here. You see, I do end up using both shields against the Vigoroth. I don't know that I needed to use that Mega Horn. I could have just kept using counter, potentially, because then we could have had, you know, a Mega Horn and or a close combat for this Noctowl and basically forced a shield. But it's okay, because now we have this Magneton ready to go. And look at that. That was so close. Noctowl. This is why it's such a dominant threat in this meta. It can get to Sky Attack so quick, and Sky Attack is such an efficient move. It doesn't take that much energy, and it does a lot of damage. Now, it's the same thing here with Vigoroth and Body Slam, right? Low energy cost move, high damage output. That's a common theme amongst, you know, meta Pokemon, really, to be honest. But GG's to Gaby Climb. Did that go to 3 games? That went quick if that did. But here we go, going into the next match against Joshamon. These were kind of good battles too. I think this might have been the first time I battled against Joshamon. I'm not exactly sure. But we did just do a best of 3. Again, showed each other our 6s, and we went in for it. At this point, I'm kind of feeling very, very confident about my strategy with having Vigoroth and Heracross on the same team, but also having either Alolan Golem or Magneton as the 3rd slot. It's performed pretty well for the most part. If I had done it, I would say if they have bugs, right? If they have bug, flying, or even just bugs, go for the Graveler instead of the Magneton, because Graveler with the Rock Throw and the Rock Blast, maybe even Stone Edge, is going to do that job. It's going to fit that role so much better than Magneton is going to, right? They have different uses. They're different Pokemon. We let the first Body Slam go unshielded. I do want to kind of charge up a bit and then switch out to my Heracross, and we can... That's not what I thought I did. I thought I had shielded both Body Slams again, but apparently we let the first one go through, which leaves our Heracross very low, and he brings out a Flyer and just gets rid of us just like that. So GG's to that. Now we have this Alolan Golem doing his thing. He has bugs and Flyers, so I think he kind of just, you know, gave up. He's like, okay, there's really nothing I can do. Team composition, guys. You got to think about these things. Look at the meta. Check PvPoke, check Poke Battler, watch other content creators and the videos that they're making. There's so many different resources, even just on Twitter. See what people are saying on Twitter, and that's where you can get a lot of this information fairly easily. So that's one thing I always try and do. I mean, really everybody should be doing it, is to make sure you have answers for the counters, right? If they have paper, we gotta have the scissors, right? If we have rock, we can count on them having the paper. Keep that in mind. Now, we get the Mega Horn off. We are able to get rid of the Vigoroth threat. So I feel like that's a big win at this point. Again, he has a Staraptor. We switch right away into the Alolan Golem. And it's GG's because he also still has the Beedrill sitting in the back. So, Joshamon, you had 2 things that were very, very weak to rock coverage. So remember that. If you go up against people who have Alolan Golem or Alolan Graveler in their team of 6, or even, I don't know if there's any other rock Pokemon. I think those might be the only 2 pretty much. Cradilly, technically. But if you see those, don't use 2 Pokemon in your team that are going to be weak to it. That's my biggest tip. Keep in mind the team composition. Think about it. So in these next battles, the team was basically just grass. It was all grass. So I was thinking, okay, now we're going to feature Ninjask again. He did bring rock, though. I was prepared for that, so I switch out as fast as I possibly can into the Heracross, doing the counter damage. We're going to get rid of the Golem. That threat is gone. Now, I think we go for the Mega Horn, yes, because he brings out the Alolan Raichu. Obviously, he's going to shield it, because I'm pretty sure Mega Horn from Heracross can one-shot Alolan Raichu. And we're able to get to another Mega Horn anyway. It's one good thing. I really like this cup so far. I really, really do, because it gives these Pokemon a chance to shine, right? Like, in other cups or even in open meta, Ninjask is not a thing. Heracross isn't really a thing. That's why I love these themed cups, is it gives me a chance to invest in these Pokemon, to use them, and to appreciate them for the abilities and the skills that they really have. That's kind of what makes it fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy that part of it a lot. Next battle. He does open up with the Alolan Graveler. This is favorable for us because we did open up with the Vigoroth. I don't want to just waste charges on that. He will resist the Body Slam. I go straight for the Bulldoze on the Alolan Raichu. He was smart. He shielded it. So now I'm going to go for a Body Slam to try and do the damage, which he lets it go off. So I take advantage of the fact that he let it go off, and I switch out to my Magneton. I know I resist the electric move, so I do not shield it. Even if it's going to be potentially, you know, if it's a Kanto Raichu and it's Brick Break coming from them, Raichu's pretty weak and Brick Break is a bad move, you know? Remember that. Just because it's super effective, if it's coming from a bad move and a relatively weak Pokemon, you don't necessarily need to shield it. It's not going to one-shot you, right? And he has the Tangrowth now, so obviously we're going to bring out the flying coverage with the Pidgeot, and that's pretty much going to be GG's. I don't know why I went for the Aerial Ace. It's just a little satisfying. I could have just kept using Wing Attack to just end it, but Tangrowth can get Ancient Power. Remember that. If anybody ends up actually using a Tangrowth against you, it can get Ancient Power, as well as Vine Whip, so it can be a little bit spammy. Now, this is kind of favorable for us. I'm not too used to this matchup with Heracross versus a Forretress. So this one, that was kind of a learning experience. It looked like it worked out pretty well. He brings out the Swellow, so we're switching right away into the Magneton. Swellow's not going to be able to do anything against me, and we're going to charge up. I don't want to necessarily waste any energy on the Swellow. If I can, you know, if I can afford to reserve the energy, then I'm going to do it in that matchup, right? Because that's the best matchup for us. We go for the Magnet Bomb, and he has the Fortress left over. At this point, he is absolutely forced to use that shield, otherwise it's GG's. So these matchups and this team composition has worked very well in that situation. Granted, they had a little bit of an odd choice, particularly with the, what's that thing called again, the Swellow? Swellow's not amazing. I don't think it's terrible either. Swellow can get Sky Attack as well as Aerial Ace. It can get both, but if I'm right about Swellow, it's just going to be so much less tanky than Noctowl is going to be. So that's one more thing, keep that in mind as well. Now moving on to the next matchup, he opens up directly with Swellow, which is going to counter our Ninjask. We're going to switch out ASAP into the Alolan Golem so we can charge up, get to that Rock Blast as quick as we can. And he brings out the Sceptile, which I think out of all the battles, that was the first time I saw a Sceptile, so that was pretty cool. I want to see how much damage this can do, the Frenzy Plant, and it can indeed one-shot you, so keep that in mind. Frenzy Plant is just amazing. Obviously, we're going to be shielding this Aerial Ace. If we don't, it's going to be over for Ninjask. Now, we're going for the Aerial Ace again, straight up on this Lanoon, because Shadow Ball is going to be not very effective at all. Like, very, very much not very effective. But Ninjask takes the cake there. We're able to win that matchup as well. So we're going to be moving on to the next battle. We did so many battles. My fingers started to hurt. My eyes started to hurt. I'd been sitting on the couch the whole time, so I was kind of, you know, scrunched over a bit. It was so uncomfortable. Battlers! We have a good open here. He does have the Noctowl right off the bat, and we have the Magneton, so it's favorable. He switches out to his Lantern. I'm going to switch into the Vigoroth. In the moment, I really liked Lantern to begin with, but in the moment when he brought him out, my gut told me switch into Vigoroth. It is going to eat Lantern for lunch. Just use your shields. And look at that. We do end up obviously investing in both shields, but Vigoroth is going to eat Lantern for lunch. That threat is gone. So we're going for the Body Slam. He does have a Snorlax. It was good to see a Snorlax, you know, to test out these different matchups. So also you guys watching this can see the performance of these other different Pokemon and these other choices for this Jungle Cut meta. So Snorlax is pretty interesting. I can't say I don't like it, to be honest, because he can get Body Slam. The main thing I don't like is Snorlax. The preferred move, I believe, the preferred fast move is going to be Lick, which does absolutely nothing against normal types. So GG's to Snorlax. Now he has the Noctowl. We have a hard counter. We can take the Sky Attack. Look at that. Double resisted. It's not going to get rid of us. And we get off the discharge. I think Golem, for the most part, could have fit that role with both of our team composition just as well. One thing to be aware of between the difference when you're, you know, using Golem and possibly or Magneton to counter flyers and bugs is Golem is weak to grass, whereas Magneton is not weak to grass, right? He brings out the Lanoon. I know Lanoon from championships, right? We know it can get Shadow Claw, Grass Knot, as well as Thunder, and that can pretty much one-shot Pidgeot if he gets it off, I think. So we're going to switch out to do the super effective damage so he uses his energy quick. I wanted to force him to use it or lose it, and I'm fine using a shield at that point because I wanted to just get rid of that threat, okay? Now he has the Beautifly. This was also very interesting. Thank you so much for using the Beautifly. I don't think it performed that well, but it wasn't terrible either, considering. Look how much damage the Silverwind did, even against the Alolan Golem. I do think there's better Silverwind users as options for the Jungle Cup, but it was interesting to see it. Respect for running the Beautifly. Now we have the Aerial Ace ready to go. That's going to be very bad news for his Sceptile. So GG's there. I do like the team composition. You used something different. It was refreshing. Thanks again for doing that. Poke-AK, one thing to note real quick. When I asked Poke-AK to battle, he loves to battle. He didn't really have a specific team of 6 put together quite yet. He was just testing the broad spectrum. I was like, no, just do it. Put together a team of 6. You know, that's part of what I want to do for my videos. So he's like, okay. Came back a minute and a half later with a team of 6. So he wasn't necessarily prepared. Okay, Poke-AK is a much better battler than this team composition. He had very little prep time, and I had basically been prepping for about an hour and a half before I started a battle. Now he has the Noctowl. We have the hard counter for it. He is apparently running Nightshade. Not really scared of that. It can deal neutral to us, but Nightshade is just a terrible, terrible move. So I'm not going to bother using my shields in that matchup, even with the neutral damage. Now, him and his Credilli, look at this. It's kind of scary. You know, Infestation, you'd be shocked how quick Credilli can get to these different charge moves. That could have been a Stone Edge. I had to use a shield because I just want to get rid of this thing. I want it to be done and over with. I think I end up using another one. Yes, we do end up using another shield against our Credilli. He switches out. This was a very smart move. He's able to body slam our Pidgeot out of there, and we're left with the Alolan Golem, which is not, it's really kind of just not good news for us at this point. But look how close that was. Did you see how close that was? Oh, GG's Poke-AK. You are a legend. An absolute legend. Guys, I kid you not, he had a minute and a half of prep time. And it was that close. But going in again against Poke-AK opens up with the Venusaur, which can be considered, I guess, kind of a counter to Vigoroth. So not the best news. I do want to use my ability to threaten with the Body Slam. I don't, necessarily want to just switch out immediately because we are still going to be a good threat to Venusaur, right? Vigoroth is a monster. He is a huge threat. He's spammy. He can tank a couple of hits without any shields, and he can just dish the damage. Now, I was very well played by him. I did not use a shield on my Heracross because in the moment I was like, oh, I resist it. I don't need to use a shield. But then he brings out his Vigoroth. Now, even though we are a hard counter, we're left with what, like 4% health? So I think he played that as very much probably, as good as you possibly could. He did the smart play. He shielded the Mega Horn. Shielded the Mega Horn. I could have done so much damage. He gets off the Grass Knot. We are able to tank it, and I just counter him out of there because I want to save this Body Slam potentially for that Venusaur right there. But yeah, that's it. GG's to Poke-AK. We did some more battles just before I started recording this video, I guess. But that's also it for those best of 3s. So GG's to the battles and GG's to the video because it's over. Again, if you enjoyed, like, comment, and subscribe if you feel my vibe. And power up, punch the notification bell for more PvP content. But that was it for this Jungle Cup video. We'll see you in the next video. Have a good freaking day.